Hey, what's going on, everybody? All the fast and loose painters out there, welcome if you're new to my channel. I like to focus on more fast and loose, sort of free painting, not a lot of detail. We use the Hake brush. The Hake brush was brought to popularity, I want to say, by people like Ron Ranson. Stephen Cronin has used it for a number of years. And also, something I ought to point out is that technically the correct pronunciation of Hake is Hake, like almost like hockey. But because so many people have pronounced it Hake, I've just adapted and gone with that. So if anybody's watching and their correct pronunciation, people, I know it is Hake. But again, I've used Hake. You can call it the large goat hair if that makes it easier. But it seems like in the US and England, some of the guys, they just refer to it as, and girls refer to it as Hake. So what I'm doing now is I'm taking some ultramarine and a little Payne's gray, and I'm making this dark sky. And what I'm going to do in this one, I'm going to show you, when I paint, I don't do the traditional soft blending watercolors necessarily. I do let the watercolor do kind of what it wants, but I go in much heavier paint, neater paint. It is sort of what Ron Ranson promoted was neat paint in a lot of cases, to be liberal with the paint, squeeze a lot out onto your palette, sort of a thing. And I highly recommend you should get his videos. I mean, number one, and you can stream them from different places. You look around online. And we have a group on Facebook, Ron Ranson, a big brush, fast and loose. A lot of people seem to be enjoying it. We have almost 500 members now, and a lot of people are really learning quite a lot and having fun, and that's the main goal of this. Now I'm taking a little alizarin crimson and some, there's a little bit of white in here and just a little bit of Payne's gray and ultramarine blue. And then I've added more Payne's gray, and I'm making a little darker area under that cloud. Going for some richer, bolder colors in this one really is my aim here. And now I have another Hake, and this one here has just got a little dampness to it. And I'm just blending in, because I've used a little white gouache, I'm just sort of blending in these clouds. Just for a neat effect. I like the way, sometimes I like to use a little white in the clouds and have a little purple cloud against the blue sky, and I think it is a nice contrast. And I'm just adding a little below. Not sure if I'll have water down there, but I like to keep that option going. Now what I'm doing is I'm taking a clean brush and I'm just removing a little paint just to make the cloud tips a little whiter. I'm narrating this because when I painted, it was just too much going on in the background, and sometimes it's just easier to paint and then narrate after. So bear with me as I kind of explain what I was doing. A little bit more white gouache in there. You see I got a nice cloud pattern going on here. It's just something I've been doing lately. You don't have to add white if you don't want to. The reverse painting is a neat technique, as you can remove paint with a slightly wet Hake brush. You see, that's what I'm doing here now. So what happens is you get a darker underside of the cloud, and then the top part is whiter, like a regular cloud would be. Sometimes it's hit or miss. Sometimes it comes out really good, and other times it's like that with all painting, I think. Don't let that get you down. Again, the most important thing is having fun. And anyone can do this. Just the more you paint like you don't care, although you do care, but the more you just kind of slap paint on and paint like you just put your hands in the air like you just don't care, like they used to say, just paint like that. I'm taking a brush right now, by the way. I'm taking a gold bristled, this brush here, and I'm doing a blending motion. And this is a synthetic brush. This is something I'm just trying here, and it works okay. If you do it lightly and the brush is just hardly got any water on it, you can do a little blending, but you can't press real hard with the brush. And you see now I've got an interesting little cloud pattern going on there. So now I'm taking some yellow ochre, and I'm just, the bristles of the brush are open and pointy, and I'm just corner slapping sort of to get the shape of foliage. Mixing a little ultramarine blue, starting to go in toward the greens. Start lighter is what I do, and then I go more toward the darker shades and mix those in. Further objects, obviously, they're going to be lighter. Sometimes they're going to be bluer when they're set back in the distance. They're cooler shades. So you want cooler shades going back. And I put in a little road there using a little light red. Light red, remember, I use Cotman paints for these, so the light red is one that's more in their line of colors. It's hard to find that light red. I'm told it's more of an English color for English landscapes. So now you can see we've got a nice little blend. If you look on the left side, you see the trees. We've got 3 or 4 shades going on. The key to this is honestly, it's not washing your brush. You ever, like, somebody washes their brush like every single color that they put on, you're only going to have solid colors. You're not going to get that mix. Unfortunately, when you do it this way, you're never going to have the same mix of colors, so your paintings will always look different. You'll never be able to duplicate your painting exactly, which is fine. Every painting's like a snowflake. So I've decided here just to go with some grass, and I'm just doing quick strokes, putting on very thick paint. Again, the brighter, bolder colors here. I really want these to stand out. And I've taken my water bottle and I've done a little spray. Good to have a water bottle handy. Give it a little spray, and you can blend things very nicely and keep things from drying out. A little heavier with the light red and a little bit of burnt umber. Remember, if you're just coming into this, and I was this way too when I first started painting, I said, I wish I could paint like that, but I wish I could paint like him. Well, it's good to have those goals to say that's, you kind of have a vision where you want to be. But in the end, I can't stress enough to tell you, paint like you. Find, as you're trying to adapt these techniques, and when you see things you like in your painting, exploit that and make sure you use that in your next painting. And the things that you see that you like in your own painting, keep developing those, because at the end of the day, if somebody says, hey, your painting looks just like John Smith's painting, you don't want that. You want someone to look at your painting and go, it's unique to you. You know, you don't want to be like a copycat or a mimic or anything like that. I wouldn't. So I don't want someone to say, well, you paint just like this other guy. I'm hoping mine look unique to me. I think they do. I've taken some more heavy blue, ultramarine blue, and some Payne's gray, and I'm just slapping stuff in there. Again, the bold, heavy colors in this one. Remember, watercolor dries back, so dries back 30, 40, 50% sometimes. So just don't worry about that at this point. You can always adjust for it later as you do more paintings, but try going a little stronger with your paints and see how you like it. I'm taking my toothbrush now. I've seen people spit on their paintings lately. It doesn't work for me, but if you can take a stiff bristle brush and splotch it instead of spraying it, you'll get heavier drops of water, and it just creates unique things. I'm almost like creating accidents in the painting, but I want to have a spontaneity, a look to it, and that's why I'm doing it like that. Taking my golden hair brush and I'm just blending here, blending in some things. You know, a lot of things we're going for is unique textures, unique blends. I see myself as an impressionist painter, but also somewhat of a realist painter. I want my stuff to look realistic, but with a minimal amount of fuss. I don't mind doing a few extra strokes if it means making something look where I want it to be. Does it look overworked in some people's minds? That's something you can, I guess, judge for yourself. If I'm happy with the product in the end, then it's fine for me. Quick dry here. Just a quick dry. We got a lot of paint on here. Hair dryer is a very handy thing. If you're outside, you can put your painting in the sun, put your feet back, and it'll dry very quickly. But I've gotten to a point here where I don't really want to disturb too much anymore. I can always take a little paint out using water, toothbrush, a wet towel, a sponge. So many ways to get different textures. People use saran wrap, salt. I've actually never tried those two things. I do want to try the plastic wrap, the food wrap, saran wrap, whatever it is that people are using. Right now I'm taking my plastic card. You can use a credit card, one of those loyalty cards, good plastic card. Try to get one without sharp edges. And I'm going into the dark paint here. It's not fully dry. I didn't dry it all the way with the hair dryer. I'm still drying it, as you can see, while it's still somewhat wet. I'm going in and just creating some rocks and some tree branches. They could be dead trees. And I'm continuing to dry it. Multitasking, let's call it. I did this video about a week ago, so I'm just narrating it now. I just got real super busy, so sorry I haven't uploaded in a few extra days. I usually try to get one up every week, 2 weeks, like at the most. And I have a bunch recorded. I just have to narrate them. And when you narrate them after you do them, it's you can really get into more detail about what you're doing than when you go along. Plus, you can concentrate on your painting. So I just dabbed in a little paint on top of the scrapings so that it wasn't so stark. And now I'm just creating some little shrubs, some little grassy areas. There's plenty going on here, as you can see. Okay, so what I've done on the bottom here is I dabbed in some dark burnt umber with Payne's gray so that I could purposely create rocks along the road just to kind of define the starting point of the road. And now I'm taking a little of that same dark color and I'm dabbing it underneath the rocks and some other areas just to make the lighter rocks pop a little bit. After I scrape, people say, well, how do you scrape? And they want to scrape better rocks, but part of it is creating the defined darkened areas underneath the rocks. Just taking the end of my hake and blending that in a little bit. If I don't like how it looks, I'll blend it in. You can do a lot of things with it while your paint is still wet. Again, you raise that question, are things overworked? Spritzing it with a little toothbrush water, you could raise that question. Is it overworked? Does it look overworked? I don't know. I've gotten a lot of compliments on the paintings. People seem to be liking what I'm putting out video-wise. Is it that traditional, watercolor trained that people look for with the, opacity to it? Probably not. I mean, you could make an argument that why don't you use acrylics? But I like the watercolor. I like it's easy to use, easy to wash out. I'm doing a tree now, burnt umber, Payne's gray, and ultramarine blue, and then taking the end of my card and creating some bark, which has the secondary effect of creating a little light coming off the tree. Try to keep it to one side, the same side where maybe you think light's coming off of, and it'll make it look more realistic. These are all quick things. I mean, if you could do a painting under 30 minutes, have a good time with it, you don't feel like you've really stressed yourself out, and you're on the right path. And when you're done with your painting, if there's a couple of things, a couple of aspects you like, then really you've succeeded there too. Most people are going to look at something and get focused on, this didn't come out right. Try to focus on what came out right. Because this is a process, if you're into this and you're painting, it's going to take you many, many paintings. What people don't do, and they look at something, it looks easy. Right now I'm using the number 2 or number 3 rigger and just kind of flicking in some branches. And it does look easy because I've done so many paintings, so I'm pretty confident in what I'm doing. After you get that confidence and you know what you're going to do with the brush, then obviously you'll start getting into a groove and you'll feel like you're having more fun. It's even more fun for me to make stuff up in my mind, like I'm doing here. I'm just making this up, and I just said, oh, I'm going to throw a tree in here. Only problem with that is you tend to get a little redundant. I think your mind only has so many patterns in it, so you tend to get some redundancies of painting almost sort of the same scene. But really, landscapes, what is it? Trees, water, lakes, rivers, bushes, shrubs. You know, they are going to look kind of the same. You know, it's going to be the same composition pretty much, you know. But one way you can alleviate that is if you don't want to drag all your paints out and do plein air, you can take a camera out to the park and take a picture of different things and get a little composition there, or go to a park where there's a lot of trees and just kind of take some pictures and use that for reference. But don't try to duplicate your photo. Just use it as a starting point to get your creative juices flowing. Now I'm just coming in, I'm just making some little details with the end of the Hake brush, feathering some things and just doing some random splotching, almost semi-dry, so that it looks like little weeds popping up. Same technique you'll use like for the leaves on this tree. And by the way, the drier your brush, the smaller your leaves are. If your brush is wetter, you're going to have blobs. So the more dry you get it, but the more you have to really get in there and press your bristles against the paper to get more paint on. And as you go, you start out with a lighter color and then progressively into a darker color, so you have different shades of leaves. When you're doing this one, don't be afraid to move things around, or if you're following me on this one, move things around, move the path, make the path larger. Feel like you put your own spin into it. And what I've also done, if you notice in there, now I'm doing some grass over the white area so it stands out. But I've tried to leave some white. If you leave the bottom of your painting dry and you do quick strokes of the brush, you can leave little areas of white, and those little areas will work for you within the painting. If you can leave those open, they'll just create little areas of brightness that contrast against other things. If you can exploit that by putting dark like things against that, then it will pop and kind of dazzle the eyes a little bit. I'm putting a figure in now. I'm just taking like a number 2 rigger, I believe, and I'm just going to put a little figure on the road, maybe a little dog. I like to use a little Payne's grain, a little brown, so it doesn't really look super dark. This is probably the finest detail I'll do in a painting. And I did a lot more here than I normally do, but I'm still having fun. I'm not struggling, or it's just become sort of my regimen that I've been doing. Little shadow underneath the figures, it grounds them, it anchors them to the ground. And remember, my light was coming from the right, so the shadow should go that same direction. So what do you think? I mean, if you like this, take a look and, leave me your comments. If you are a very experienced watercolor artist, a lot of people want to paint looser, and they're way beyond what I could paint. But some people are coming to us and they just want to paint looser and freer. Loose and free painting sometimes can open you up to a lot of other things. But if you're already an experienced artist and you see something, critique or whatever, I'm open to anything, because I'm on this journey of, I started maybe 2.5, 3 years ago, and I'm just moving along, and you guys that are watching are on with me for the ride and seeing how I progress. And as I go along, these are things I'm doing and I'm sharing with you, and I'm hoping you're having fun with your painting. And I'm hoping people are watching this that maybe have never painted and pick up a brush, because it's such an enjoyable thing to do. It really is. It's not tedious. It's not something that should be frustrating you. don't worry about things early on. You got some color on the paper, you know. Sometimes you see people very advanced painting and you can't do what you see, so it frustrates you, but don't expect that. Don't put that pressure on yourself. Go for shapes early on. You know, just get the composition, get the shapes, get things laid out where you want. It takes a lot to bring. I'm going with my fingernail, by the way, and I'm just scratching some things in. Just you know, just go with the flow. And again, have fun with it. I'm taking a white jelly roll pen. This is a pen that has like white ink in it. I guess it's ink, I'm not sure, but they call it a jelly roll, and I'm using that to just accent the figures so they pop out a little bit more. You can use a little bit of white paint on the end of your brush, but sometimes to get in there my fingers kind of shake a little bit, so it's easier to do with the pen. See how that green in the leaves pops against the little purple clouds in the background? We covered some of that up, but it's still there to the left. You got a lot of interesting things to sink your mind into on this one. So yeah, as I was saying, leave any comments below, any questions. I'll try to answer what I do as best I can. This is by no means my expert opinion. This is one person who's going along and discovering things as I go and sharing them with you. It's an added bonus of fun to share this with other people and see what they're doing. It's a whole community, and it's people going toward the same goal, and it's not getting into the stresses of society. And that's what I like about it. When I focus on this, this is all I'm focused on. I'm not focused on worries or any other things. It's great therapy. It really is. So we're closing in on the end here. I'm just kind of dabbing a little things and, you know, just kind of touching things up a little bit. Not fussing at this point. I don't feel that I fussed. Now I'm taking a micron pen. I think it's an 03. I don't like painting the birds for some reason. I slip or something. I'm so much more accurate with the pen, so I'll put a bird in with that if you've watched my videos before. And let's do a final dry here. I just want to get a final hair drying. I know this video went a little bit on the long side, but I didn't want to edit too much out. I'm taking that jelly roll pen, signing my name. If I didn't leave a light area, I'll sign in white. I've tried it with red. I liked it for a while, and now I'm kind of like back to like white or black. So let's put this up on the board and let's see how it looks with a mount on it. Here's my black mount. And gosh, I can never keep these mounts clean. There's a lot of debris on this one, but it really gives you a good idea of your little window you've created. I'm happy with it. I think it turned out well. We'll zoom in a little bit. So I hope if you're new, you keep following along with me. Subscribe. Let's zoom in. You can see all the textures and really all the different things we have going on. Here's a real close-up shot. Thanks again, everybody, for watching. Happy painting.